question from Lisa Riley-Roche.
Hi, Representative.
Hello.
I'm wondering how you felt the debate went and how you feel you differentiated yourself from the other candidates in the race.
Well, I think COVID has presented some unusual circumstances for campaigning in general, where this is really our first forum that we've all been on the same stage at the same time, in the same room, even at the same time. So to the degree that we really are interacting for the first time, that's been unusual for us. How did I do? I think typically I'm a policy wonk, and I really like to dig into policy. It's kind of what I do. It's why I ran for State House. It's really about the policy. What does the policy do to forward our freedoms, to make a better economy, to make a freer state and country? So that's always my thing, is how do I condense it and make it, fit that 30-second, 1-minute response. But clearly, I do have that voter experience where right now I do disagree with some of the previous comments about the makeup of this district. This is a decidedly Republican district. We had a perfect storm of events that happened in 2018, and we very, very narrowly lost that seat. That doesn't mean that it turned overnight into a moderate district. We have some of the most conservative elected officials throughout that district in the State House seats, Senate seats, as well as local government offices. So it is a Republican district, and my platform, my message matches the residents, the citizens, the voters of CD4. So making that very clear that I'm both a resident of the district and I have the voting record that shows I will do the things and have done the things that the voters of CD4 expect and want in a legislator in Congress. So the question is, what really does that House record, that legislative record, mean? How will it impact the race? So, after doing this for a year, we have a set of frequently asked questions. One of those is, how do we know you're a true conservative? I'm the only one that can really point to a record, and Twitter can verify it. So we've too often we've voted for people based on what they say, and then we hope they're actually going to do it. And sometimes we've been disappointed, but this year that is very different, because I have a record with a pattern of constitutional conservative votes across the board, and that is something that the voters can rely on. They don't have to take a chance this year. They can look at me and know my record, and that is important. We are finding that is very important for the voters of CD4. They don't want to be disappointed again. If I may add to Mr. Winslow, your last question, in addition to that voting record, we are the strongest organization on the ground right now, and we have received the national attention that really is going to be necessary to get all the way across that finish line. We've raised $500,000, which is just unheard of in Utah's congressional races. So we have the resources that we need, an amazing ground game, and like I said, the message resonates with the voters of CD4. So we're the best. This is the best team to join, and I'm the best candidate to take this seat.
I do have one follow-up question from the debate. When the discussion was about Salt City Mayor Mendenhall's order, you expressed some concerns about curbing civil liberties, but I just want to follow up. Do you support her order, or did you think it went too far?
I think, and I did relate it back to the COVID response in general, that we have seen a couple months now of emergency response, of special circumstance responses that have employed a manner of restricting civil liberties. And like I said, people have been asking me that for weeks now. Can the government do this? Can they shut down my business? Can they tell me to stay in my home? Am I really at risk for arrest? Are there sanctions? And I say, yes, the government can do this if we let them. So I think it's especially in a time of crisis and emergency that we need to be hyper vigilant about our civil rights. The very nature of an emergency situation is that we may be personally dealing with that event and maybe not noticing what's what's going on with the government in our lives, or we're in a state of fear and concern as well, so we kind of, frequently might just go along. So we really have to absolutely be hyper vigilant about our civil rights and make sure that they are not infringed, make sure that the response is not inconsistent with the actual emergency at hand. We've had a lot of cities experiencing what we experienced in Salt Lake City over this weekend, some to a larger degree. We didn't see daytime curfews. That my county mayor established a snitch line for neighbors to report on neighbors. That is just not my free America. I'm very concerned about some of those responses that we've had. Absolutely, look at the data, look at what we know about the virus, respond appropriately, but as citizens be hyper vigilant that your government does not infringe upon your rights unduly, especially in an emergency circumstance.
Sorry, one more question. You mentioned earlier that in 2018 there was kind of this perfect storm that allowed Representative McAdams to get elected. Could you elaborate on what you meant by that?
So we had some ballot initiatives that leaned more attractive to Democrats. We had a president that was really turning the corner on popularity. So that's no longer a question. This district decidedly supports President Trump, as I do, and I'll have his back in Congress. The initiatives were a big thing. We had problems in Utah County with their election system that resulted in thousands of people walking away from voting places because there were 4-hour lines in November. Is not fun. So there were a number of things like that. And those things are not going to be there this year, and we've known that. And so we've been putting, our ground game together and everything else for about a year now. So we're poised to take the seat and recognizing that this is a Republican strong district by 13 points. That's significant. So like I said, very strong Republican district down ballot. And now, the other thing is Ben had a record in Salt Lake County that we are still suffering the legacy in Salt Lake County, but we now have a record of Ben's votes in Congress, so that he's going to have to work hard to explain why his votes have been out of sync, especially the impeachment, the sham impeachment of the president. So that is something very different this year.